Hello everyone. Today's lesson is going to be a short one. We are going to talk about Excel rows and columns formulas and understand why these formulas can help you. Let's get started. To begin with, what is this rows and columns formulas? Rows formula will give you the number of rows in a range of cells. So for example, if you pass this range from B4 to B12 to rows formula, it will tell you that there are 9 rows here, 1 2 3 so on and so forth. And columns formula will do the same, but for columns like this. So if you have a rectangular area like this, if you pass it to rows formula, it will tell you how many rows are there, and if you pass it to columns formula, it will tell you how many columns are there. This can be very useful because you can, if you have a named range which is changing every time, then you can use this rows and columns formulas to find out how many values are there in that row. Also, there is a special interest for me in these formulas because they help me, since I have started using them, they have helped me reduce my formula lengths a lot, because I used to have helper columns where I used to write numbers 1 2 3 4 like this. In several situations where you need to have running numbers just so that you can use some logic against them, you would we always write them in the helper column. But using rows and columns formula, we can automate that whole thing. I'm going to show that to you in a moment. I'm just going to clean this out now. Before getting started, let's try to see what the syntax is. The rows syntax is very straightforward. You type rows and then give a range of values like this, and it will tell you how many rows are there. Remember, when we are typing rows, we have already also seen that there is another formula called ROW row. Now what this will do is, I'm going to just, it will tell you the row number of the current row. So if you write row in a particular cell, it's going to tell you that that formula is executed in cell row number 8. See here. So as I drag it along, it's going to just show the value that is here. Same formula but applied in a different place. That is what the row formula is. Don't confuse row with rows. Also, you can use the row formula like this, a row, and you can give a reference to this one, and it will tell you where that row is in D3. These formulas are useful when you are doing some kind of advanced lookups, which is beyond the scope of our lessons here, and probably most of you would never have to use such formulas anyway. Okay, let's come back to our lesson on the rows formula. The main reason why I have included this particular formula in our lesson plan is to show you one creative use of it, and then we will revisit it during one of our lessons on conditional formatting or charting and try to understand how this can help us. Let us say you want to generate the numbers 1 2 3 4 5 6 like that, so on and so forth, in a set of cells. The easiest way to do it is type 1 and 2 and then just clear out, select 1 and 2, and then use this little handler to drag it, and Excel will automatically fill out the values for us like this. Now this is very good, but what if you need such incremental values in formulas? Let us say there is a formula in this cell. The same formula is applied all over here, but in each cell the formula needs to have an increasing number. So the first cell, the formula should have a value of 1, second cell should have a formula of 2, like that. For example, let us write some customer names here. I'm just going to put the names here: John, Jim, Jill, Janet, James. Just 5 names I have put, and I wanted to use the customer name from here and then just create the references here. It's just a hypothetical example, so it may not make complete logical sense to you, but then let's give it a try. So from that point of view, we can use this index formula, refer to this array, and then now first row I want to have the first value, so it's like this. Since this is standard array, I'm going to press F4, select the entire range and press F4. It will become an absolute reference, so that even if you drag it down, it's going to remain to the same. But the problem is here, when the second cell I need to have number 2 here, and when I'm in third cell I need to have number 3. Now I can't do this when I have 300 rows. It's impossible to edit each and every formula. So one of the alternatives is type numbers like this here, and then instead of typing the value manually, just refer to the value here, and then it will fill automatically. But this is actually using an extra column of values. It may not be the best possible solution. So this is where I think the potential for rows formula is very high. Remember how rows is working is you pass a range of values and it is going to tell you how many rows are there. Now if you recollect from our initial lesson on absolute and relative references, we do know that here I'm going to first write the formula, then we will explain it in a moment. So rows, and just take any cell, so like say H8 to H8, and this is giving you a range of H8 to H8, one cell range. Now what I'm going to do is, first part we will make it as an absolute reference. The second part is going to remain relative. So as you drag this formula down, it's going to generate sequential numbers. How is it working? Because here the first formula we entered is the same cell, but when I dragged it down, since the first portion of the range reference is absolute, Excel is not changing it. But since the second portion is not absolute, Excel will increment it by 1 because it is dragged down in the direction. So now this has become 2. Similarly, at the end of the setup here, this has become 5. So instead of using these running numbers like this, I can just replace it with the rows formula like this. Rows, just press F2 inside, and then you select any cell will do, but make sure we select the first portion of it and press F4 to make it absolute. And once that is done, just drag it down, and now we don't need this extra helper column. So this is one of the most beautiful and simple uses of rows formula. You can do the same for columns when you have data in the columns and you need increasing numbers in this way instead of like this. So you can use the syntax, and everything else is same for columns also. Let us write one columns formula. Make sure you select the first portion and press F4, and then just drag it like this. That's it. You have, again, Excel adjusted the references neatly for the second portion, and the first portion remained static. So this is a very powerful use of generating increasing numbers and then using them in some other formula. Just for generating increasing numbers alone, I don't think rows and columns formula should be used, because an easier alternative would be to just drag it down, or if you don't know how many, you just use the formula like this. So it will increment as we go along. Okay, so that is what I wanted to share with you on rows formula. I think this is a very powerful formula. Even if it doesn't make sense to you now, you just bookmark this lesson and then revisit it whenever you have a situation where the formulas require numbers in increasing order, because this is very fairly common when you are working with large data sets. Okay, so go ahead and experiment with this little formula called rows and columns, and also give a try to the row and column formulas which are used to find out the address, row number and column number of a cell, and that is referencing to it. And let me know if you have any questions through comments. I'll see you in the next lesson. Until then, you have a good time. Bye.